Making headlines this hour, Mohammad Muiz to replace Memdu. And the Minister of Economic Development and Trade, Mohammad Ali, boosts the re-export trade.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to PSM News in English with me, Abdullah Ahil. And now the news in detail. The Parliament formally endorses 3 new appointments to the Civil Service Commission, approving nominations submitted by President Dr. Mohammad Muiz to replace members whose terms are nearing expiration. The commission, which comprises 5 members and oversees the administration of the country's civil service, is set to undergo partial reconstitution. The tenures of President Mohammad Nasir and members Mohammad Farshad and Fatimat Sharif are scheduled to conclude on the 3rd of September, marking the end of their 5-year terms. Under Maldivian law, the president is required to nominate replacements when the term of a member of an independent institution expires. These nominations are typically drawn from a public application process, with candidates selected based on statutory qualifications and demonstrated merit. To address the forthcoming vacancies, President Muiz submitted 6 names to Parliament for consideration. The Committee on Independent Institutions conducted a formal evaluation of the nominees of 75% to 3 candidates. All 3 candidates were subsequently approved during an extraordinary sitting of Parliament held on Wednesday. Dr. Diba Musa received 60 votes, Dr. Hussein Faiz secured 54, and Mohammad Nasir were backed by 52 members. Each member of the Civil Service Commission serves a 5-year term. Prior to the new appointments taking effect, the commission comprises President Mohammad Nasir, Vice President Mohammad Mujtaz, and members Mohammad Farshad, Fatimat Sharif, and Fatimat Habiba. The Parliament formally approves the appointment of Ahmad Maqsoom to the Human Rights Commission of the Maldives, or HRCM, as the terms of 2 sitting commissioners near expiration. President Dr. Mohammad Muiz had submitted nominations to address the forthcoming vacancies. Mohammad Shafiq Mohammad Mahmoud received parliamentary endorsement for one of the positions, while a second nominee did not secure approval. In response, the President presented a revived list of candidates. The Parliamentary Committee on Human Rights and Gender reviewed the new submissions and found all 3 nominees, Ahmad Maqsoom, Amira Naim, and Fatimat Nafat Abdul Wahab, qualified for appointment. During a subsequent sitting, Parliament held individual votes for each candidate. Maqsoom's nomination was unanimously supported by all 58 members present. The terms of Vice President Mumina Wahid and member Aminat Shifat Abdul Razzaq are scheduled to expire on the 8th of September. Appointments to the HRCM follow a standard procedure involving a public application process, presidential nomination, parliamentary approval, and final confirmation by the President. An amendment to the Thalassemia Control Act passed by the Parliament earlier this month is sent back to the relevant parliamentary committee for review following a reconsideration request from President Dr. Mohammad Muiz.
The President's decision, influenced by feedback from the Maldivian Blood Services and affected families, aims to refine the bill to ensure a comprehensive national system for patient care. After receiving the President's request, the bill was debated in the extraordinary sitting, where members voted unanimously 60-0 to refer to the bill to the committee. The reconsideration seeks to address concerns raised by stakeholders and ensure the law's objectives providing full and effective services to thalassemia patients are met. The bill, sponsored by ruling party lawmaker Ahmad Nasir, includes several key provisions that will now be re-examined by the committee. The amendment defines the post of Director General or DG of the Thalassemia Center as a civil service position. The DG, appointed by the Civil Service Commission on the Health Minister's advice, must hold a national qualifications framework Framework Level 8 or 9 qualification in management and have 10 years of experience in the health sector. A significant addition addresses the marriage of individuals who risk having children with thalassemia. The new article stipulates that couples must apply for permission to marry from the registrar after undergoing a thalassemia test. If the test results indicate a risk, the marriage will only be permitted after the couple completes a mandatory regulatory program. The President's office emphasized that the President's decision to send the bill back to Parliament for reconsideration was driven by a need to ensure services for thalassemia patients are delivered through a rounded national system.
The bill proposing the merger of the Maldives Media Council or MMC and the Maldives Broadcasting Commission or Broadcom passes to the Independent Institutions Committee for review.
The Maldives Media and Broadcasting Regulation Bill advances with 49 votes in favor during a parliamentary extraordinary sitting, marking a significant step towards a major overhaul of the country's media landscape. The legislation introduced by independent lawmaker Abdul Hanan Abu Bakr outlines plans to abolish the MMC and Broadcom and replace them with a single 7-member Maldives Media and Broadcasting Commission. Proponents of the bill states its purpose is to uphold constitutional press freedom, prevent the spread of false news, and establish rules for media and journalists to ensure responsible reporting. The proposed commission will consist of 7 members serving 5-year terms with a maximum of 2 terms, with 3 members appointed by the President after parliamentary approval, while 4 will be elected by eligible media outlets. The Commission's chair will be appointed by the President with parliamentary consent, though President Dr. Mohamed Muiz recently suggested this appointment could be made via an internal vote among commissioners instead. The Elections Commission will oversee the election of media-appointed members, for which journalists and outlets registered for at least 5 years will be eligible to vote. The new commission will be responsible for creating and maintaining a register of all journalists and editors working in the country. Upon enactment, the bill would repeal the Maldives Media Council Act and the Newspapers and Magazines Act while modifying provisions of the Broadcasting Act. The new commission will have wide-ranging powers to enforce regulations and penalize violations. The Commission can order corrections, impose fines of up to 10% of the previous year's income for repeat offenses, and potentially revoke a broadcaster's license for persistent violations. Newspapers and magazines, meanwhile, could face fines of $324.27 to $6,485.15 for repeated violations of a code of conduct. The Commission can also temporarily cancel registration and pursue court action for permanent cancellation. Individual journalists can be fined between $324.27 and $1,621 for failing to rectify issues within a given time frame. The bill now moves to the Independent Institutions Committee for further consideration, where some of its provisions are expected to be reviewed.
The Parliament approves the appointment of 4 members to the board of the Maldives Inland Revenue Authority or MIRA. President Dr. Mohamed Muiz proposed 14 names for the board at the parliamentary sitting held on the 4th of August. Under the law, the 7-member MIRA board is appointed by the President, subject to parliamentary endorsement. After reviewing the names, the Parliament's Economic Committee awarded more than 75% in marks to 8 candidates. Following this, the Parliament then voted on each candidate in the order of highest marks. The members unanimously approved the appointment of Muhammad Imtiaz Ali to the MIRA board. The endorsement comes as the terms of 4 sitting members. The Minister of Economic Development and Trade, Mohammed Saeed, says the introduction of a new duty-free zone at the commercial export trade.
The move seeks to capitalize on the port's strategic location, which was developed around 2 decades ago but has faced operational challenges that hindered its full utilization. The expansion is a key part of the government's vision to decentralize economic activity and establish regional logistics hubs across the country. Operated by Maldives Ports Limited or MPL, the upgraded port introduces 4 new services that will transform its function from a basic import hub into a multifaceted logistics center for for the northern atolls of Ha Alif, Ha Dal, Shaviani, and Noon. The new offerings include duty-free freight service or bonded zone, a dedicated area for storing goods without paying duty upon arrival, bonded warehouse service specifically for resorts in the northern region, providing a secure space for restricted goods, domestic port services for offshore businesses, a special jetty for intra-island cargo distribution, improving supply chain efficiency within the northern region, and bulk cargo handling services, including a dedicated storage area such as Stone and Said, speaking to PSM News after the inauguration of the new cargo for re-export without initially paying customs duty. He adds the Kolodofushi port marks the first free zone. Minister Said confirmed that the Economic Ministry has also stated its intention to expand the existing land area at the port to accommodate future demand for bonded storage. This reflects a broader government strategy to modernize and expand port infrastructure across the nation with an agreement signed with MPL back in May. MPL and the Economic Ministry anticipate that the new services will benefit the northern atolls by lowering transportation costs, stabilizing market prices, and driving economic growth.
China's Fujian province donates a significant amount of sports equipment to the Maldives.
The handover ceremony took place at Henve Rubolage with Ambassador of China to the Maldives, Kang Xianhua, presenting the donation on behalf of Fujian province. The items were received by the Minister of Sports, Fitness and Recreation, Abdullah Rafiu, on behalf of the Maldives. The sports equipment donated by Fujian province included footballs, bags, caps, tracksuits, socks, and men's shorts and t-shirts. At the ceremony, the sports minister expressed gratitude to Fujian province for its continued support of Maldives sports. The assistance reflects the close relationship between China and the Maldives, he said, adding that he hoped that the partnership would continue to grow stronger in the future. Earlier this year, in February, a Memorandum of Understanding, or MOU, was signed between the Maldives and the Sports Bureau of Fujian province. The agreement covers joint training programs, assistance in the development of players, teams, and clubs, as well as people-building initiatives in sports-related fields. These include training for medical officials, coaches, referees, and umpires, as well as awareness on prohibited substances in sports. The MOU also aims to provide local players and teams with more opportunities to compete internationally. So far this year, athletics, table tennis, and football equipment. China has also provided assistance to train volleyball coaches and basketball coaches and players, and has assisted in capacity building in the field of sports medicine.
Discussions are held to hand over the operation of Agro National Corporation, or Agronat's vessels, to Maldives Transport and Contracting Company, or MTCC. Agronat's agri-boat vessels are designed to support agricultural operations by transporting farmers' produce quickly and efficiently. The boats, built specifically for the Maldivian conditions, addresses challenges such as weather-related issues, rough seas, and accessibility to islands. They are equipped with grain storage, solar-powered cold and dry storage facilities, and crew rest areas. These vessels are designed to operate in an environmentally sustainable manner. The Ministry of Agriculture and Animal Welfare said that during the meeting with MTCC, the company expressed interest in incorporating Agronat vessels into its fleet. MTCC has already drafted schedules under its ferry service, which will be shared with the Agriculture Ministry. Discussions focused on reviewing these schedules, developing logistics plans, and disseminating the information to farmers. The ministry is working hard to facilitate the sale of farmers' produce nationwide. The project aims to establish a sustainable, efficient, and reliable transportation system for agricultural products. These vessels will ensure fresh produce reaches markets across the Maldives in a timely manner. Wall Street's main indexes were flat, constrained by a rise in Treasury bond yields as President Donald Trump's decision to fire a central bank governor deepens concerns about the Federal Reserve's independence.
Wall Street's main equities indexes were largely flat on the day while the dollar dropped. Yields on 2-year, 5-year, and 10-year Treasury notes fell, reflecting higher expectations of a near-term rate cut, and rose on longer-dated bonds in a sign the Fed's inflation-fighting credentials might weaken. Trump said in a letter to Cook on Monday that he had sufficient cause to fire her because she had described separate properties in Michigan and Georgia as primary residence on mortgage applications before she joined the Fed in 2022.
Yeah, the thing that we're looking at is how the Fed is going to react to that decision itself, right? So if the Fed has a big reaction and people change their opinions next meeting based on this, that's a real concern.
Cook's departure would allow Trump to pick 4 members of the Fed's 7-member board, including 2 incumbents and the pending nomination of White House economist Stephen Miran.
Palestinian families leaves Gaza City after Israeli shelling on its outskirts as Israelis launched a day of nationwide protests calling for hostages to be released and the war in Gaza to end.
Residents said Israeli aerial and tank shelling continued throughout the night on the 26th of August, like many other nights, destroying roads and houses. At the United Nations, spokesperson Stefan Dujarric said Gaza's health ministry had reported 3 more deaths from malnutrition in the past 24 hours, bringing the toll to 303, including 117 children. He said more than 36,000 people had been displaced in recent days, most fleeing from Gaza City toward Deir al-Balal and Khan Yunis.
He hopes that there is a solution, that there is a ceasefire, that we see humanitarian aid flow, that we see hostage families reunited with their loved ones, that we see the return of a political path, that we see the people of Gaza being afforded the ability to hope again. Right, and I can tell you that on the hostage issues, the Secretary General has very often met with hostage families, and he's been following this very closely.
He said humanitarian missions continued to face obstructions from Israeli authorities. Israeli strikes at Nasser Hospital in the southern Gaza Strip on the 25th of August also killed at least 20 people, including journalists working for Reuters, the Associated Press, Al Jazeera, and others. At least 34 people were killed in Israeli strikes in the enclave overnight on the 26th of August, local authorities said, including 18 people around Gaza City. Around half of the enclave's 2 million people currently live in Gaza City, with several thousand already moved westward, pouring into the heart of the city and along the coast. Others have ventured further south to central Gaza and the coastal area of Al-Mawasi near Khan Yunis. According to Gaza Health Ministry, Israel's genocide has since killed at least 62,000 Palestinians, mostly civilians, plunged the enclave into a humanitarian crisis, and internally displaced nearly its entire population.
Sergio Perez and Valtteri Bottas will be back on the Formula One starting grid next season after Cadillac announces the signing of the experienced race winners as the team's debut driver pairing.
The Mexican and Finn both have multi-year deals, the General Motors-backed outfit said, without providing further details. Perez, a 6-time race winner, and Bottas, who took 10 victories for Mercedes, are both 35 and have unfinished business after being dropped by the Red Bull and Sauber teams respectively in 2024. The announcement was expected, although some younger prospects had been touted. Both spent years alongside 2 of the sport's greats, Perez with 4-time world champion Max Verstappen at Red Bull and Bottas as sidekick to 7-time champion Lewis Hamilton at Mercedes. They also have more than 500 race starts between them, Perez 281 and Bottas 246, and a combined 106 podium appearances. Cadillac, who will use Ferrari power units until 2029 when General Motors hopes to have its own, face a steep learning curve as the 11th team at the start of a new engine era. Perez and Bottas, the latter serving as Mercedes reserve this season, both said they were excited to be starting afresh.
One morning in June, an ocean surge swept through the village of Apakin, one of Lagos's last indigenous coastal communities, washing away fishing boats, nets, and graves. It was only the latest event in the settlement of roughly 3,000 people that is losing homes and livelihoods to rising seas.
Despite pledges of support from Commonwealth leaders, worsening ocean surges have left the centuries-old community feeling powerless, with residents fearing their ancestral land could soon be lost to the sea, according to local chief Abimbala Liowan. About 80% of the Lagos shoreline has been washed away in the past 5 decades, according to a 2022 report in the Journal of African Earth Sciences. The study blamed deep-water ports along the Bight of Benin as the main reason for the erosion. Lagos has more than a dozen coastal communities battling ocean surges, but Apakin's residents say they're among the worst hit. A land once known for coconut farming, a final 50-meter stretch of trees vanished 4 years ago. Yuan said the building he used as a palace when he was appointed the village head 3 years ago had also gone. Lagos State says rising seas pose the biggest long-term climate threat, but environmentalist Philip Jakpor argues that government-backed projects like the massive Dangote oil refinery and deep sea ports are equally damaging to coastal communities.
And that's all the news we have for today. We'll be back with any further updates. Until then, I'm Abdullah Ahil from PSM News.